I am live now. Okay. I am attempting to make a small, humble how-to video on making tatting shuttles. I use a coping saw. It's like this. It's just a simple little thing. They're very cheap. We've had this one 35 years. You buy these blades. They're very cheap to buy. And you untwist the handle to change these blades. I also use a little, very cheap X-Acto knife. You get these at Walmart, like $3, and you get little razor blades that you change. And that's how you spell it. X-A-C-T-O. I use clear gloss polyurethane. I use Gorilla Super Glue with the blue cap. There's other Gorilla Glue that you dampen and then it's supposed to swell 3 times. I've never tried that. I like this and it holds up really well. The Gorilla Super Glue blue cap. And I start with a log of firewood. We have firewood that we buy by the truckload. I'm lucky. I live in West Virginia, United States, so we have a lot of wood to choose from. Then my husband hand splits a log down to thinner pieces to where I usually end up with something like this. It's just a rough piece, long wood, and I pick out an area that has straight grain, and with this I'd use the hand saw and cut on that line and this line. And then I use the hand saw and I would saw away near these lines but not touching the lines. And I would remove that corner, and then I'd saw this way, removing that excess corner, all 4 corners. And before I did that, I would saw down about 1/2 inch to make this a flat little board. And then after I do that, I make a pattern piece from graph paper. And I also use a little half-moon ruler. They look like this. And I draw however many inches long I want it on graph paper. And then I line this line up and that line up with the graph paper. And the edges of how far I want it, I mark that with this. And then I mark the other side with this edge too. And it's very simple to do. Anybody can do that. And then I cover the graph paper with so many layers of scotch tape on both sides so it lasts. I'm nervous because I'm not used to making shuttles. See what I just say? I'm nervous because I'm not used to making videos. I'll try to be less nervous here. So after I cut out that shape, then I use a little X-Acto knife and trim close to you can still just slightly see that blue shape. Then when I do that, I get a piece like this. It's thick, like so, but it's that shape. After I do that, then I measure down 3/8 of an inch from this point down and mark it with a pencil if it's that wood, light wood. Then I mark down from this edge 3/8 of an inch. That's if it's good and flat on top. You need it to get it flat, so that way your measurements turn out right. And then I connect the pencil line over. And then after that, I draw a line in the center. I kind of measure a little bit to get the center and mark it. And then I put like a little triangle here in the corner, something like that marked, just a small. And do the same thing on the other. Just mark a little line there from the 3/8 inch up. And then I eyeball it in roughly a very gradual mark down. And do the same thing on this side. And then I draw a line under that, so far apart, under it, like that, about that distance. And then I used the X-Acto knife and carved away, just keep carving away that excess wood down to that pencil line on both sides. Then I use that knife, and I'm sure there's a faster, better way. Some people use gouges and stuff like that, but I only have the X-Acto knife, so that's what I use. And I remove all this excess up to that line with that. And then I end up with a boat-like shape. And then I bevel away that little edge there, like a triangle. I just, like this right here, I'll just remove a little triangle edge. Just makes it look rounder. Then I use coarse sandpaper and medium sandpaper and work my way to fine, then extra fine. And then I lay that aside and make one more, I call it a boat, the second blade. And then I cut out a post that's not very wide, and I keep trimming until it fits real snug and tight in the base of this at the center. And I make it just slightly longer than I need, and I glue it in good, let it dry good, and then I turn around and put the other blade on top to see where I'm at. And there's always quite a bit of excess, so then I trim the post down a little bit, then trim it down a little more and check, trim it some more. And getting the post to match right can be the most aggravating part of the shuttle. But after you get close, you remove even less. Really careful when you eyeball it. Sometimes you need to remove one side of the post or just the other side. You get used to looking at it and you can tell. And so you fuss with it until you get it just right, and then you put the Gorilla Glue on the other side, and you try to hold it so it don't slide around, so your points stay matched up. Otherwise, they'll slide and they won't be matched up exactly. And that can be a little aggravating, but you'll get it. And then you let it dry good and add the clear polyurethane according to the directions. And I hope I didn't forget anything, but that's basically all there is to it. And thank you. And oh, and a lot of people ask me, why don't I sell my shuttles? It takes me 5 days to hand carve them, and that's working all day long. And so there's too much work in it to sell for maybe $20, which would be the most people would pay. And then the other thing is, I put so much work into them. I like them myself. I like all the different grains of wood and everything. And I've been collecting tatting shuttles for years. But if you learn how to make your own, if you really, it's easy to learn. It's just a lot of time and a lot of work. But if you really want one and you learn, you can have all the tatting shuttles you want. And get very creative with it as well. And so, thank you, and I hope I didn't leave anything out.